Discussion on verses 1 to 46 of 46. The opening verses of this chapter have been interpreted in multiple ways by scholars. One common understanding is that they refer to the winds, forces that Allah, the Exalted, has placed in creation and uses for many different purposes. These winds disperse seeds to aid in growth, move clouds across great distances, and distribute rain in a precise and measured manner across the earth. At times, they also become powerful and destructive, serving as a form of warning or punishment. Chapter 79 and Naziat, verses 1 to 5.
By those who extract with violence, and by those who remove with ease, and by those who glide as if swimming, and those who hastening ahead, and those who arrange each matter.
No matter which interpretation is adopted, the essential message of these verses remains clear. They direct attention to the perfectly coordinated systems present throughout the natural world. Every movement of the wind, every formation of clouds, every drop of rain, and every natural process occurs with exact precision, balance, and purpose. Such order cannot arise by chance. Instead, it points directly to the oneness of Allah, the Exalted, who alone is the creator, sustainer, and controller of all existence. Despite this perfect balance in the physical world, one noticeable exception exists in the behavior of human beings. While all other elements of creation operate in harmony with the laws set by Allah, the Exalted, human actions often deviate from this order. There are individuals who act unjustly and oppress others while appearing to escape immediate consequences, while many others endure hardship, injustice, and loss without receiving what appears to be a fair recompense in this life. At the same time, those who sincerely obey Allah, the Exalted, may face trials and difficulties, whereas those who openly disregard His guidance may enjoy ease and worldly success. Just as balance is maintained in the natural world, a complete and perfect balance in justice must also exist. However, this balance is not fully realized in this life. Therefore, it must take place in another stage of existence, the Day of Judgment, when every action will be accounted for with absolute fairness. Allah, the Exalted, has the power to reward and punish immediately in this world, but His wisdom requires otherwise. People are given repeated opportunities to recognize their mistakes, repent, and improve. Full reward is not granted in this world, because it is not intended to be a place of ultimate reward. Furthermore, believing in what cannot be seen, particularly the reward in the hereafter, is a defining quality of true faith. If everything were immediately visible, belief would lose its meaning and distinction. A person who lives with awareness of accountability develops both fear and hope. Fear of consequences prevents wrongdoing, while hope in reward encourages righteous action. Together, these two qualities create balance and stability in a person's life, helping them remain steadfast. For the day of recompense to occur, the current world must come to an end. Reward and punishment can only be fully carried out once all actions have ceased. As long as actions continue, final judgment cannot take place. This confirms that the present life is temporary and will inevitably reach its conclusion, making preparation for what comes after both necessary and unavoidable. Chapter 45 Al-Jatiyah, verse 22.
For Allah created the heavens and the earth for a purpose, so that every soul may be paid back for what it has committed, and none will be wronged.
And chapter 79 and Naziat, verses 6 to 7.
On the day the blast of the horn will convulse creation. There will follow it the subsequent one.
The essential lesson to understand is that the final call, the call that signals resurrection and the beginning of the last judgment, is a summons that no one can refuse or escape. Every human being will respond to it, willingly or unwillingly, and it will lead directly to their resurrection and final accountability. Therefore, a person should respond to the call of Allah, the Exalted, delivered through the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, by demonstrating sincere obedience. This obedience is expressed through fulfilling the commands of Allah, the Exalted, refraining from His prohibitions, and facing destiny with patience in accordance with the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Through this, they ensure that the blessings they have been granted are used in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. Chapter 8 and Anfal, verse 24.
O you who have believed, Respond to Allah and to the Messenger when he calls you to that which gives you life.
Whoever responds to this divine call in this world will find the final call easy to endure and respond to. Their heart will be prepared, their mind will be steady, and their soul will be at peace. In contrast, the one who lives heedless of the call of Allah, the Exalted, by misusing the blessings they have been granted, will not find peace in this world, nor will they find ease when the trumpet is finally blown. They will be forced to answer the call of resurrection, and it will be a tremendous burden for them to endure. A person can only ignore the call of Allah, the Exalted, for a limited time, for the final call will come, sooner or later, and no one will be able to avoid or ignore it. Since this event is inevitable, it is only rational that a person responds to the divine call now, today, instead of living in heedlessness. If a person hears the trumpet blast while living in a state of heedlessness, no action, regret, or play will benefit them. At that moment, the opportunity to obey, repent, or change will have ended. What follows for such a person will be even more terrifying, for they will face the consequences of a lifetime spent ignoring the guidance of Allah, the Exalted, and misusing the blessings He had entrusted to them. Their heedlessness in this world will become their regret in the next, and their refusal to respond to the call of guidance will become the very cause of their distress on the Day of Judgment. Chapter 79 and Naziat, verses 8-9.
Hearts that day will tremble, their eyes humbled.
The leaders of the non-Muslims of Mecca, like those who came before them, adopted various strategies to prevent others from accepting Islam, driven by their fear of losing authority, status, and influence. One of the approaches they used was to challenge the concept of resurrection, in a way that made it appear irrational and far-fetched. Chapter 79 and Naziat, verses 10-12.
They are presently saying, will we indeed be certainly returned to our former state of life? Even if we should be crumpled, decayed bones. They say, that then would be a losing return.
This highlights an important pattern in human behavior. When a teaching conflicts with a person's desires or interests, they often distort it by exaggerating it to an extreme, presenting it in a way that seems unreasonable. Once it is made to appear absurd, they then use that distorted version as a basis to reject it altogether. In reality, they are not rejecting the truth itself, but a misrepresentation of it that they have constructed. A clear example of this can be seen when someone persists in poor conduct, such as mistreating relatives, and is advised to improve their behavior. Instead of accepting the advice, they may respond by claiming that such guidance demands perfection, as though they are being asked to behave like an angel who never makes mistakes. Since such perfection is impossible, they dismiss the advice entirely. In doing so, they avoid addressing the real issue, which is the need for sincere effort and gradual improvement. This type of reasoning allows a person to escape accountability. By refusing to acknowledge their shortcomings, they prevent themselves from developing their character and correcting their behavior. Over time, this leads to the misuse of the blessings granted by Allah, the Exalted, as they are no longer guided by responsibility or purpose. As a result, they fall into an imbalanced state, both mentally and physically. Their priorities become disordered, and they begin to misplace people and responsibilities within their lives. Despite any material success they may achieve, they experience ongoing stress, dissatisfaction, and difficulty. More importantly, this neglect leaves them unprepared for their accountability on the Day of Judgment. In addition, avoiding responsibility often leads to the violation of the rights of others. When individuals justify their own misconduct instead of correcting it, injustice spreads within families and communities. This contributes to wider corruption, as people begin to normalize harmful behavior and excuse wrongdoing rather than addressing it. Therefore, the rejection of truth through distortion is not merely an intellectual issue, it has serious personal and societal consequences. Chapter 79 and Naziat, verses 13-14.
Indeed it will be but one shout, and suddenly they will be alert upon the earth's surface.
The key lesson is that this is a call which no one will be able to refuse or escape. It is a call that will inevitably lead to resurrection and final judgment. Therefore, a person should respond now to the call of Allah, the Exalted, conveyed through the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, by adopting sincere obedience, fulfilling the commands of Allah the Exalted, avoiding His prohibitions, and facing all circumstances with patience in accordance with the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Through this response, a person ensures that the blessings they have been granted are used in ways that please Allah the Exalted. Chapter 8 and Anfal, verse 24.
O you who have believed, respond to Allah and to the Messenger when he calls you to that which gives you life.
Whoever answers this call during their lifetime will find that the final call is easier to face and respond to. In contrast, the one who lives in heedlessness, misusing the blessings granted to them and ignoring divine guidance, will find no true peace in this world. When they are ultimately forced to respond to the call of the trumpet, it will be an overwhelming and burdensome experience. No one can ignore the call of Allah, the Exalted, indefinitely. The final call will certainly arrive, sooner or later, and none will have the ability to avoid it. Since this reality is unavoidable, it is only logical for a person to respond willingly now, rather than be compelled to respond later. If a person hears that final call while in a state of heedlessness, no regret, excuse, or action will benefit them. At that point, the opportunity to prepare will have passed, and what follows will be far more severe and terrifying. After discussing the arrogance of the leaders of the non-Muslims of Mecca, and warning them not to reject or ignore practically preparing for accountability on Judgment Day, Allah, the Exalted, provides an example from history to further reinforce this warning. Chapter 79 and Naziat, verses 15 to 18.
Has there reached you the story of Moses, when his Lord called to him in the sacred valley of Tuwa? Go to Pharaoh. Indeed he is transgressed. And say to him, would you be willing to purify yourself?
The purity that was offered to Pharaoh, and by extension to all people throughout history, through divine revelation, has always been intended for the benefit of creation, not Allah the Exalted. When a person strives to purify their character by adopting the noble qualities encouraged within Islamic teachings, such as generosity, patience, humility, gratitude, and compassion, while actively working to remove destructive traits like pride, envy, greed, and arrogance, they begin a deep inner transformation. Through this effort, the heart is cleansed and the soul is elevated, gradually moving towards a state of sincerity and refinement. This inner purification naturally produces tranquility, as true peace of mind is a direct outcome of living in accordance with divine guidance. A person whose character is aligned with these teachings is no longer in conflict within themselves, rather they experience clarity, purpose, and stability. Furthermore, this purification guides a person to use the blessings they have been granted, such as wealth, health, knowledge, and influence, in a manner that is pleasing to Allah the Exalted, and in accordance with the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. This prevents misuse, excess, and ingratitude, and instead directs these blessings towards acts of obedience, service, and responsibility. As a result, a person develops a balanced mental and physical state, where everything and everyone in their life is placed appropriately. Their priorities become clear, their relationships are handled with justice and care, and their daily actions align with a higher purpose. This balance not only improves their worldly life, but also ensures that they are properly preparing for their accountability on the Day of Judgment. Chapter 79 and Naziat, verse 19.
And let me guide you to your Lord so you would fear him.
Such a path of purification yields a twofold success. In this world, it grants inner peace, resilience during hardship, and contentment regardless of circumstances. In the hereafter, it leads to salvation and eternal reward with Allah the Exalted. Therefore, purification is not simply a matter of personal improvement, it is the foundation upon which true success is built. Additionally, this purification ensures that a person fulfills the rights of others as outlined in Islamic teachings. By doing so, it contributes to the establishment of justice, harmony, and peace within society. A purified individual does not only benefit themselves, but becomes a source of goodness for others, helping to create a balanced and upright community. Despite being shown clear and extraordinary signs, such as the staff of the Holy Prophet Musa, peace be upon him, transforming into a living serpent, Pharaoh persisted in rejection. This was not due to a lack of evidence, but because accepting the truth would have conflicted with his worldly ambitions, authority, and desires. As a result, he chose denial and disobedience, even in the face of undeniable proof. Chapter 79 and Naziat, verses 20-21.
And he showed him the greatest sign. But Pharaoh denied and disobeyed.
This highlights a critical reality. Guidance is not merely a matter of evidence, but of sincerity and willingness to submit to the truth. When desires dominate a person, even the clearest signs may fail to bring about acceptance. As indicated in a hadith found in Sahih Bukhari, number 4981, every one of the holy prophets, peace be upon them, was granted miracles to support their mission. However, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, was uniquely given the Holy Quran as an everlasting miracle. The miracles granted to earlier holy prophets, peace be upon them, were limited in time and place, primarily serving as immediate proofs for those who witnessed them. For later generations, these miracles remain accounts rather than lived experiences, and thus may not carry the same impact for those who did not directly observe them. In contrast, the Holy Quran stands as a continuous and accessible miracle for all people, across all times and places. Its linguistic excellence is unmatched, its message is clear and comprehensive, and its guidance addresses every dimension of human life. It is free from contradiction, and its depth continues to reveal new insights upon reflection. Unlike human writings, it neither loses its impact through repetition nor becomes outdated with time. In general, the Holy Quran presents detailed accounts of past nations, despite the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, not being taught history in a conventional sense. It commands every form of good and prohibits every form of evil, whether on an individual level or within society, thereby establishing justice, stability, and harmony. It avoids falsehood, exaggeration, and fiction, and instead provides practical, applicable guidance. Even when narratives are repeated, each occurrence highlights new lessons and perspectives. Furthermore, it offers both warnings and promises, supported by clear and rational proofs. When addressing abstract qualities such as patience or gratitude, it provides practical methods for embodying them in daily life. It calls people to fulfill the purpose of their creation, to sincerely obey Allah, the Exalted, by using the blessings they have been granted in ways that are pleasing to Him. Through this, a person attains peace of mind and success in both worlds, by achieving a balanced mental and physical state, and correctly prioritizing all aspects of life while preparing for accountability on the Day of Judgment. The Holy Quran makes the straight path clear and appealing to those who sincerely seek truth and stability. Because it speaks directly to human nature, its guidance remains relevant and beneficial in every era and context. It serves as a comprehensive remedy for emotional, social, and practical challenges when understood and applied correctly. History itself testifies that societies which implemented its teachings properly experienced justice, unity, and prosperity. Moreover, the preservation of the Holy Quran is itself a sign of its divine origin. Over centuries, not a single letter has been altered, fulfilling the promise of Allah, the Exalted. Chapter 15 Al-Hijr, verse 9.
Indeed it is we who sent down the message, i.e. the Quran, and indeed we will be its guardian.
In addition, the Holy Quran addresses the root causes of problems within individuals and societies, rather than merely treating symptoms. By correcting these foundational issues, countless secondary problems are resolved naturally. This comprehensive approach ensures true and lasting success. Chapter 16 An-Nahl, verse 89.
And we have sent down to you the book as clarification for all things.
Thus, the Holy Quran stands as the greatest and most enduring miracle granted to the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Yet, only those who sincerely seek the truth and act upon it will benefit from its guidance. Those who approach it selectively, driven by personal desires, will fail to gain from it, and may instead increase themselves in loss in both this world and the hereafter. Chapter 17 Al-Isra, verse 82.
And we send down of the Quran that which is healing and mercy for the believers, but it does not increase the wrongdoers except in loss.
Pharaoh not only persisted in rejecting the message of the Holy Prophet Musa, peace be upon him, but actively resisted it using the authority and influence at his disposal, driven by the fear that accepting the truth would strip him of his power, status, and control over others. This pattern is not limited to him alone. Rather, it reflects a recurring tendency found throughout human history. When a person chooses a path that differs from those around them, especially a path grounded in obedience to Allah, the Exalted, it often unsettles others. This is because such a choice can expose the weakness in their own decisions, particularly when those decisions are rooted in the pursuit of personal desires over divine guidance. As a result, instead of reflecting and reforming themselves, they may respond with criticism, mockery, or even hostility toward the one who remains steadfast. In many cases, this reaction may even come from close circles, such as family and friends. In addition, modern societal pressures intensify this challenge. Influences such as social media, fashion trends, and prevailing cultural norms frequently promote values that conflict with Islamic teachings. These platforms often glorify wealth, status, and unrestricted self-expression, creating an environment where adherence to divine guidance is portrayed as restrictive or outdated. Consequently, those who strive to uphold Islamic principles may be viewed as obstacles to these worldly ambitions. Entire industries that thrive on excess and indulgence may oppose the spread of such values, as they threaten their foundations. This contributes significantly to the widespread negative portrayal of Islam across various platforms. Furthermore, individuals who adopt a disciplined lifestyle, moderating their desires and using their blessings responsibly in accordance with Islamic teachings, are often criticized by those who indulge without restraint. Such unrestrained behavior, which prioritizes impulse over discipline, is encouraged by many aspects of modern culture. Those who follow it may attempt to draw others into the same pattern, discouraging both the acceptance of Islam and the practice of its teachings. In doing so, they often single out particular aspects of Islam, such as the dress code for women, in an effort to undermine its appeal. However, a thoughtful observer can recognize the inconsistency in these criticisms. While objections may be raised against Islamic guidelines, similar or even stricter codes in other fields, such as law enforcement, the military, healthcare, education, and corporate environments, are widely accepted without question. This selective criticism reveals that the issue is not truly about restrictions themselves, but rather a discomfort with the self-discipline and moral boundaries that Islam promotes. At its core, it is the strength of Islamic principles and the commitment of those who adhere to them that provokes such opposition. Chapter and Naziat, verses 22 to 24.
Then he turned his back striving. And he gathered his people and called out, and said, I am your most exalted Lord.
In every circumstance, a person must remain firmly committed to the sincere obedience of Allah, the Exalted. Such commitment safeguards them from the negative influences of others, even if this protection is not immediately apparent. Through this obedience, they are guided to use the blessings they have been granted in the correct manner. This, in turn, enables them to attain a balanced mental and physical state, properly organize their priorities and relationships, and prepare effectively for their accountability on Judgment Day. As a result, they achieve tranquility and stability in both this world and the next, remaining guided in times of ease and hardship alike. In contrast, seeking the approval of others at the expense of obeying Allah, the Exalted, inevitably leads to inner unrest. It encourages the misuse of blessings, resulting in confusion, imbalance, and the misplacement of priorities and relationships. Such a person becomes increasingly unprepared for their accountability on Judgment Day, and their life, despite any outward comforts, becomes filled with stress, difficulty, and hardship in both worlds. Chapter 79 and Naziat, verses 25 to 26.
So Allah seized him in exemplary punishment for the last and the first transgression. Indeed, in that is a warning for whoever would fear Allah.
These verses serve as a powerful reminder against adopting a self-absorbed way of life, in which a person's attention becomes confined solely to their own circumstances, while ignoring the broader realities unfolding around them. Such a narrow outlook blinds the heart and prevents it from recognizing the wisdom that can be drawn from history, personal trials, and the experiences of others. Reflecting upon these lessons is one of the most effective means of refining character, avoiding repeated mistakes, and attaining lasting inner peace through achieving a balanced mental and physical state, and through correctly placing everything and everyone within one's life. For instance, observing how the wealthy and renowned misuse the blessings they have been granted, only to be overtaken by anxiety, depression, addiction, or even suicide despite their comforts, teaches that genuine tranquility cannot be purchased with wealth nor secured through the pursuit of unchecked desires. Likewise, witnessing someone struggle with illness should stir gratitude for one's own health and inspire its proper use before it inevitably declines. Islam therefore urges people to remain mindful, observant, and reflective, to look beyond the narrow lens of their own situation, and to extract wisdom from the world around them. Through this reflective approach, a person strengthens their faith, deepens their understanding, and safeguards themselves from heedlessness, ensuring that they use their blessings in ways pleasing to Allah the Exalted. Chapter and Naziat, verses 22 to 24.
Then he turned his back striving. And he gathered his people and called out, and said, I am your most exalted Lord.
In the present age, this reality can be seen in the influence of powerful segments of society, whose attachment to worldly desires and ambitions leads them to resist and oppose Islamic teachings, fearing that acceptance would diminish their status, authority, and social influence. Unlike Pharaoh, who openly called people to elevate him, these figures rarely make such explicit claims. Instead, they exert their influence indirectly, through the shaping of social media, fashion, entertainment, and cultural norms. Through these channels, they guide public attitudes, values, and behaviors, often steering people away from obedience to Allah, the Exalted. As a result, many individuals begin to follow these influences unquestioningly, adjusting their beliefs, lifestyles, and priorities to align with them. In doing so, they fall into a form of obedience that resembles worship, even if they do not consciously recognize it. This mirrors the behavior of the people of Pharaoh, who followed him without reflection, allowing his authority to dictate their actions. Chapter 36 Yasin, verse 60.
Did I not enjoin upon you, O children of Adam, that you not worship Satan, for indeed he is to you a clear enemy?
Most people do not engage in direct acts of worship toward the devil. However, they are described in this manner because they obey him when he calls them towards disobedience to Allah, the Exalted. This demonstrates that obedience, when it contradicts divine guidance, can take on the nature of worship. Therefore, it is essential for a person to guard themselves against following any influence, whether individuals, trends, or systems, that leads them away from obedience to Allah, the Exalted. If a person turns away from the obedience of Allah, the Exalted, they will inevitably find themselves submitting to other forces. These may include societal expectations, workplace pressures, cultural trends, or influential figures. Attempting to satisfy these competing demands leads to constant strain, as each source of influence carries its own shifting expectations. It is impossible to please them all. This situation resembles that of an individual working under multiple supervisors, each demanding something different. Such a person becomes overwhelmed, unable to find stability or peace. Over time, this divided loyalty results in inner conflict and emotional burden. Instead of achieving fulfillment, the person may experience anxiety, dissatisfaction, isolation, and even deeper psychological struggles, as their efforts to gain approval fail to bring lasting contentment. This pattern is often visible in those who outwardly possess wealth, fame, or influence, yet inwardly struggle with unrest and instability. Moreover, those who are followed and obeyed in this way will not offer any benefit in the hereafter. When accountability is established, each individual will stand alone, and those worldly influences will neither share the burden nor provide relief. In order to avoid this outcome, a person must consciously detach themselves from obedience to anything that leads to the disobedience of Allah, the Exalted. Instead, they should commit themselves to sincere obedience to Him by using the blessings they have been granted in accordance with Islamic teachings. Through this, they will attain clarity, stability, and true peace of mind, achieving a balanced mental and physical state while correctly placing every matter and every relationship within their life, thereby securing success in both this world and the next. After warning people against disobeying Him through the story of Pharaoh, Allah, the Exalted, invites humanity to reflect upon the creation so they may recognize his absolute oneness and understand that he alone must be obeyed at all times. Chapter 79 and Naziat, verses 27 to 28.
Are you a more difficult creation, or is the heaven? Allah constructed it. He raised its ceiling and proportioned it.
This invitation to reflect is not merely a call to observe the physical world. It is a call to contemplate the profound intelligence, precision, and harmony embedded within creation. When constructing even a simple building, human beings must carefully plan its structure, calculate its measurements, and strategically place supports such as pillars to ensure stability. No builder would dare to construct a building without deliberate design, for the absence of planning would inevitably result in collapse. If such meticulous thought is required for a modest human structure, how can anyone reasonably believe that the vast heavens and the expansive earth, far more complex, balanced, and magnificent, came into existence by accident or without purpose? If the heavens and the earth were the product of chance, their structure would be unstable, inconsistent, and unsafe. Yet the universe displays perfect order, the precise movement of celestial bodies, the balance of ecosystems, the laws of physics, the cycles of nature, and the harmony between countless interconnected systems. These realities demonstrate not randomness, but intentionality. They reveal the work of a creator whose knowledge encompasses every detail, and whose power sustains every aspect of existence. The heavens do not collapse, the earth does not drift aimlessly, and the natural world does not function chaotically. Instead, everything operates according to a flawless design that reflects the wisdom, authority, and perfection of Allah, the Exalted. The course of the sun ensures that the earth receives a carefully measured balance of light and darkness. The precise arrangement of day and night, along with their gradual variation throughout the year, allows people to benefit from both without harm or imbalance. Chapter 79 and Naziat, verse 29.
And he darkened its night and extracted its brightness.
If the daylight hours were excessively long, people would become exhausted and overwhelmed by continuous activity. On the other hand, if the night were extended beyond its current measure, it would restrict people's ability to work, learn, and carry out their daily responsibilities. Likewise, if the night were shortened too much, sufficient rest would become impossible, leading to physical and mental strain. Even agriculture depends on this balance, as crops require a specific rhythm of light and darkness to grow properly. Any disruption to this system would have severe consequences for both human life and the wider ecosystem. The flawless harmony between day and night, along with countless other systems in the universe, clearly points to the oneness of Allah, the Exalted. If there were multiple creators, each with independent will, conflict and disorder would inevitably arise within creation. Chapter 21 Al-Anbiya, verse 22.
Had there been within them, i.e., the heavens and earth gods besides Allah, they both would have been ruined.
The moon also plays a vital role within this balanced system. By reflecting the light of the sun, it provides illumination during the night, which has historically guided travelers across deserts and oceans, routes that continue to serve as major channels for global transport. Its phases are not random, but follow a precise cycle that influences the tides of seas and oceans. These tides are essential for maintaining marine ecosystems, and any disturbance in their pattern would result in widespread environmental harm. In addition, the sun and the moon together provide a reliable means for measuring time, which is fundamental for organizing human life, agriculture, travel, and trade. The exact positioning and interaction of these celestial bodies within the solar system is not accidental, but demonstrates careful planning and control. All of this reflects a single, all-powerful creator, Allah, the Exalted, whose design is marked by precision, balance, and purpose. The earth has been designed with remarkable precision, providing a balance that allows humanity to thrive in multiple ways. Its surface is spread in such a way that people can cultivate crops, build homes, establish communities, and develop infrastructure without encountering constant natural obstacles. Chapter 79 and Naziat, verse 30.
And after that he spread the earth.
When one examines the Earth's topography, it becomes evident that altitudes vary widely. While high mountains present challenges for habitation due to steep slopes, limited oxygen, and harsh climates, most land exists at an ideal altitude suitable for human life. This ensures that the majority of the planet is both livable and productive. Furthermore, areas that are difficult to access naturally limit human interference, preserving delicate ecosystems, while the more accessible regions allow people to utilize the Earth's resources effectively. The distribution of natural resources further reflects the careful planning behind creation. Essential resources such as fresh water, fertile soil, forests, and minerals are generally found in locations where people can reach them without extreme hardship. Less critical or non-essential resources may be in harder to access locations, preventing overuse or exploitation. This demonstrates a system of balance and wisdom, where the Earth meets human needs while maintaining natural order. The accessibility of the Earth, the placement of resources, and the careful distribution of landscapes point to intentional design. The planet has not been created haphazardly. Rather, every feature serves a purpose to support human life. Observing this harmony inspires recognition of the oneness of Allah, the Exalted, whose wisdom has ensured that the Earth functions as a stable, balanced home for humanity, while providing the means to live comfortably, grow, and prosper. This balance also encourages gratitude, responsible use of resources, and thoughtful stewardship of the planet, emphasizing that humans are entrusted with the care and proper utilization of all that has been provided. Even the arrangement of continents, rivers, mountains, and plains contributes to the overall balance. Rivers flow from higher altitudes to plains, providing water for agriculture and drinking, while natural barriers like mountains protect certain regions from environmental hazards. The varying climates across regions allow for a diversity of crops and wildlife, enabling people to adapt and benefit from different resources according to their location. Chapter 79 and Naziat, verse 31.
He extracted from it its water and its pasture.
And chapter 25 Al-Furqan, verse 53.
And it is he who has released simultaneously the two seas, one fresh and sweet and one salty and bitter, and he placed between them a barrier and prohibiting partition.
This verse highlights one of the remarkable features of creation, the simultaneous existence of fresh and salt water, each fulfilling unique roles, yet carefully separated by a divinely established barrier that prevents their complete intermingling. Fresh water, flowing through rivers and streams, is indispensable for human consumption, agriculture, and sustaining life on land. Salt water, contained within seas and oceans, plays an equally critical role by supporting marine ecosystems and preventing contamination from the countless corpses of sea creatures. If these two types of water were allowed to merge without regulation, the delicate balance of life on Earth would be destroyed. Mountains also serve an essential function in this system. They act as natural reservoirs, collecting rainwater, including acidic precipitation, and purifying it so that it becomes suitable for human and animal use. From these mountains, rivers and streams flow in carefully distributed channels, ensuring a constant supply of fresh water. This purified water remains distinct from the saline waters of the oceans, allowing both systems to operate in harmony and fulfill their respective purposes without interference. The wisdom in this arrangement is evident. Fresh water sustains terrestrial life, while salt water sustains aquatic life and prevents the oceans from becoming polluted. The separation of the two is deliberate, a manifestation of divine power and precision. Any disruption to this balance, such as an uncontrolled mixing of fresh and salt water, would have catastrophic consequences for both land and sea life. The harmonious functioning of water systems, the role of mountains in purification and distribution, and the separation of the oceans all serve as clear testimony to the oneness of Allah, the Exalted. They demonstrate that creation is not the result of chance or the actions of multiple competing powers, but the work of a single creator who establishes order, balance, and purpose in all things. These signs call humanity to reflection, obedience, and gratitude, showing that just as the natural world operates only under divine law, human life too must be lived in accordance with the divine guidance of Allah, the Exalted. Mountains are not simply dramatic features of the Earth's surface. They are essential components in maintaining the planet's stability and supporting life. Chapter 79 and Naziat, verse 32.
And the mountains he set firmly.
Functioning like natural anchors, mountains stabilize the land, limiting excessive shifts and movements of the Earth's crust. This stability ensures that rivers can flow consistently, valleys remain intact, and ecosystems thrive without frequent disruption. Without such natural support, the surface of the Earth would be far less hospitable for life. Beyond structural stability, mountains play a crucial role in the water system. They capture and retain rainfall, allowing water to gradually seep into rivers, streams, and underground reservoirs. This process not only provides fresh water for human consumption and agriculture, but also sustains animals and plant life. Snow-capped peaks gradually release water as they melt, ensuring that rivers continue to flow even during dry seasons, demonstrating a carefully balanced system. Mountains also influence climate patterns and air circulation, further contributing to the balance of natural systems. Their presence affects rainfall distribution, wind patterns, and temperature regulation, creating diverse habitats that support a wide variety of life. When considered alongside other elements, the Earth's spread, accessible resources, and functioning ecosystems, mountains exemplify a remarkable integration of form and function. This intricate balance reflects deliberate design and wisdom, pointing unmistakably to the power and oneness of Allah, the Exalted. Every mountain, river, and valley works in harmony to provide a stable, life-sustaining environment, illustrating that the natural world is carefully planned to support human existence and all living beings. Chapter 79 and Naziat, verse 33.
As provision for you and your grazing livestock.
A person who provides for another, such as offering housing or sustenance, naturally deserves gratitude. In the same way, every blessing in the universe has been granted to people by Allah, the Exalted, and it is both just and appropriate that people express gratitude to Him. True gratitude begins with intention. One must act solely to please Allah, the Exalted. Actions performed for any other reason, such as seeking praise or reward from people, will not earn spiritual reward, as highlighted in a hadith found in Jami at Tirmidhi, number 3154. A clear sign of sincere intention is that a person does not anticipate or expect recognition or compensation from others. Gratitude also manifests in speech and action. Gratitude in speech means expressing what is good or remaining silent rather than speaking harmfully. Gratitude in action involves using the blessings one has been granted in ways that align with the guidance of Allah, the Exalted, as outlined in the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. When people act in this way, their blessings increase, and they attain peace of mind in both this world and the next, through maintaining balance in mental and physical states and correctly placing all elements and relationships in their lives. Chapter 14 Ibrahim, verse 7.
If you are grateful, I will surely increase you in favor.
Ownership and stewardship are also important to understand. When a person possesses an object, it is natural for them to use it according to their wishes. However, because Allah the Exalted owns and sustains all things including people, He alone determines how His blessings should be used. Therefore, obedience to Allah is both just and necessary. Similarly, when someone lends an item, it must be used according to the intentions of the owner. Worldly blessings are granted to people as a loan from Allah, the Exalted, rather than as a gift. Proper repayment of this loan occurs by using these blessings in ways pleasing to Him. By contrast, the blessings of paradise are gifts. People will be free to enjoy them without obligation. Chapter 7 Al-Araf, verse 43.
And they will be called, "This is paradise which you have been made to inherit for what you used to do."
Understanding this distinction is crucial. Worldly blessings are temporary loans meant to be used responsibly, whereas the gifts of paradise are eternal rewards granted freely to those who have fulfilled their responsibilities. Misusing worldly blessings is therefore a violation of trust, while obedience and gratitude secure peace of mind and success in both worlds. If one observes the universe, they will notice many examples of balance. For example, the Earth is at a perfect and balanced distance from the Sun. If the Earth was slightly closer or further away from the Sun, it would not be inhabitable. Similarly, the water cycle, which involves the evaporation of water from the ocean into the atmosphere which is then condensed in order to produce rain, is perfectly balanced so that the creation can continue living on Earth. The ground was created in a balanced way so that the weak branches and shoots of seeds can penetrate through it, in order to provide crops for the creation, yet the same ground is tough enough to withstand heavy buildings being built on top of it. There are many such examples that not only clearly indicate a creator, but also balance. But there is one major thing in this world which is clearly unbalanced, namely, the actions of mankind. One often observes oppressive and tyrannical people who escape punishment in this world. Conversely, there are countless people who are oppressed by others and face other difficulties, yet do not receive their full reward for their patience. Many Muslims who sincerely obey Allah, the Exalted, often face many difficulties in this world, and only receive a small share in reward, whereas those who openly disobey Allah, the Exalted, enjoy the luxuries of this world. Just like Allah, the Exalted, has set up a balance in all His creations, the reward and punishment of actions must also be balanced. But this obviously does not occur in this world, so therefore it must occur in another time, namely, the Day of Judgment. Chapter 45 Al-Jatiyah, verse 22.
For Allah created the heavens and the earth for a purpose, so that every soul may be paid back for what it has committed. And none will be wronged.
And chapter 79 and Naziat, verses 34 to 35.
But when there comes the greatest overwhelming calamity, the day when the human will remember what he strove for.
It is essential for a person to regularly reflect on their own actions, as no one knows their deeds better than themselves, except Allah, the Exalted. Honest self-assessment encourages sincere repentance from wrongdoing and motivates the performance of righteous deeds. This includes using the blessings they have been granted in ways that are pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. By doing so, a person maintains a balanced mental and physical state, organizes their life and relationships appropriately, and prepares adequately for accountability on the Day of Judgment. Such vigilance fosters peace of mind in both this world and the next. Conversely, neglecting self-assessment leads to heedlessness. A person who fails to evaluate their actions often misuses their blessings, resulting in imbalance in both mind and body. They misplace priorities and relationships, leaving themselves unprepared for Judgment Day. Even if they enjoy worldly comforts, their inner state becomes one of stress, disorder, and difficulty. On the Day of Judgment, this neglect will make the weighing of their deeds intensely challenging, and in many cases, may lead to eternal punishment in hell. This principle can be understood through the analogy of a business owner. A diligent business owner regularly checks accounts to ensure the business runs smoothly, and all obligations, such as taxes, are properly met. In contrast, a negligent owner who ignores their accounts will face losses and penalties. Similarly, a person who fails to monitor their deeds risks severe consequences in the hereafter. However, unlike worldly penalties, the repercussions of failing to account for one's deeds before Allah, the Exalted, are far more severe and truly unbearable. Chapter 99 Az-Zalala, verses 7 to 8.
So whoever does an atom's weight of good will see it. And whoever does an atom's weight of evil will see it.
Furthermore, it is not enough to simply avoid sinful acts. A person must also avoid using their blessings in vain. Actions that are neither sinful nor righteous, when repeated excessively, can lead to regret on Judgment Day. At that time, one may realize that the same blessings could have been directed toward good deeds, adding weight to the righteous side of the scales. Even minor differences on the scales may determine whether a person attains salvation or faces damnation. Regular self-assessment ensures that blessings are used wisely, increasing the likelihood of success in both worlds. Chapter 79 and Naziat, verses 35 to 36.
The day when the human will remember what he strove for. And hellfire will be exposed for all those who see.
People should recognize that regrets fall into two distinct categories. The first type relates to worldly matters, such as not getting married, not having children, or missing out on certain opportunities in life. The second type consists of the regrets a person will experience in their grave and on the Day of Judgment, such as failing to use their time, resources, and blessings in ways that pleased Allah, the Exalted. Worldly regrets, regardless of their nature, are temporary. They either come to an end when a person fulfills their desire, changes their perspective, or ultimately passes away. The longest they can last is until death, and even then, they do not result in lasting harm. While they may cause sadness or disappointment, they do not lead to severe punishment or torment. Moreover, if a person is granted paradise through the mercy of Allah, the Exalted, all such regrets will completely disappear. In contrast, the regrets of the hereafter are far more serious and enduring. The period of the grave and the day of judgment is far longer than one's life in this world, and these regrets may continue until a person enters paradise, if they are granted entry at all or only after a prolonged period. The scale of time itself is entirely different. Chapter 22 Al-Hajj, verse 47.
And indeed, a day with your Lord is like 1,000 years of those which you count.
These regrets are not only long-lasting but also extremely significant, as they may be accompanied by severe consequences, including punishment and hardship in the hereafter. Unlike worldly regrets, they are not light or easily dismissed, but carry real and lasting impact. For this reason, a person should reflect carefully and act with wisdom and care towards themselves. True kindness to oneself lies in prioritizing the removal of the regrets of the hereafter, before focusing on the regrets of this world. By doing so, a person safeguards their future, uses their blessings correctly, and prepares properly for their accountability on the Day of Judgment, thereby securing peace and success in both worlds. Chapter 89 Al-Fajr, verses 23-24.
And brought within view that day is hell. That day man will remember, but how, i.e., what good to him will be the remembrance? He will say, "Oh, I wish I had sent ahead some good for my life."
Obeying Allah, the Exalted, often goes against the desires and ambitions that people naturally incline toward. As a result, many choose to prioritize worldly pleasures, persisting in disobedience. Chapter 79 and Naziat, verses 37-38.
So as for he who transgressed and preferred the life of the world.
This choice has clear consequences in this life. When a person places their desires above divine guidance, they lose balance in both their mental and physical state. Their priorities become disordered, and they fail to give things and people their proper place. As a result, aspects of life that should bring comfort, such as family, friendships, career, and wealth, become sources of stress and frustration instead. Instead of recognizing the root cause of their inner unrest, they often blame the wrong people or circumstances, such as their spouse or close companions. In some cases, they distance themselves from those who are actually beneficial to them, thinking this will solve their problems. In reality, this only deepens their difficulties, leading to further imbalance, emotional distress, and in severe cases, depression, harmful habits, and even thoughts of self-harm. This pattern is clearly observed among those who misuse the blessings they have been granted, including individuals who outwardly possess wealth and status but inwardly lack peace. More importantly, this mindset prevents a person from preparing for their accountability on the Day of Judgment. By remaining distracted and absorbed in worldly pursuits, they neglect the very purpose of their existence. As a result, the consequences they face in the hereafter will be far more severe. Chapter 79 and Naziat, verse 39.
Then indeed hellfire, it is the refuge.
Whereas, the one who fears Allah, the Exalted, all-encompassing gaze, and His completely control and ability over them, and their accountability on Judgment Day, will control their intentions, speech and actions in every situation, ensuring they all align with His obedience. Chapter 79 and Naziat, verse 40.
But as for he who feared the position of his Lord, and prevented the soul from desires.
This will ensure they obtain a balanced mental and physical state, and correctly place everything and everyone within their life, while adequately preparing for their accountability on the Day of Judgment. This behavior will therefore lead to peace of mind in both worlds. Chapter 79 and Naziat, verse 41.
Then indeed paradise, it is the refuge.
Chapter 79 and Naziat, verse 40.
But as for he who feared the position of his Lord, and prevented the soul from desires.
It is crucial to recognize that this verse does not restrict its warning to unlawful desires alone. Rather, it encompasses all forms of desires, including those that are merely vain or excessive. This broader caution highlights a deeper dimension of spiritual awareness, demonstrating that even permissible inclinations can become harmful if they distract a person or gradually lead them toward what is forbidden. Accordingly, True piety, rooted in a conscious awareness of Allah the Exalted, requires more than simply avoiding what is clearly unlawful. It also involves exercising restraint in certain lawful matters, when there is a genuine concern that they may act as a gateway to wrongdoing. By adopting this cautious and disciplined approach, a person safeguards their faith, maintains control over their impulses, and remains firmly aligned with the guidance of Allah the Exalted in all aspects of life. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 187.
These are the limits set by Allah, so do not approach them.
Allah the Exalted does not merely warn people against crossing His limits, rather, He commands them not even to approach those limits. This principle is repeatedly emphasized throughout the Holy Quran. For example, Allah the Exalted instructed the Holy Prophet Adam, peace be upon him, not to eat from the tree in paradise, yet He advised him not even to approach it, even though approaching it was lawful. Chapter 7 Al-Araf, verse 19.
And O Adam, dwell, you and your wife in paradise and eat from wherever you will, but do not approach this tree lest you be among the wrongdoers.
There are countless examples demonstrating that the mere permissibility of something does not mean a person should engage in it. Approaching the limits of Allah the Exalted is not unlawful in itself, but crossing them is. Certain lawful matters, especially vain and purposeless activities, must be avoided because they often serve as gateways to the unlawful. For instance, vain speech, though not sinful in itself, frequently leads to backbiting, lying, and other prohibited behaviors. Similarly, vain spending of wealth often leads to wastefulness, which is a sin. Chapter 17 Al-Isra, verse 27.
Indeed, the wasteful are brothers of the devils, and ever has Satan been to his Lord ungrateful.
The vast majority of people who become misguided do so through a gradual, step-by-step process. They begin by approaching unlawful matters without directly engaging in them. And over time, they are tempted and encouraged to participate in those very unlawful actions. For example, a person who regularly accompanies those who drink alcohol is far more likely to eventually drink it than someone who avoids such company altogether. This attitude of avoiding certain lawful things, especially vain things, is something the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, emphasized in a hadith found in Jami at-Tirmidhi, number 2451. In fact, he taught that a person cannot attain true piety, meaning they cannot remain steadfast in using their blessings correctly, as outlined in Islamic teachings, until they abandon some lawful matters out of fear that these may lead them toward the unlawful. Therefore, a person must pay careful attention not only to avoiding what is unlawful, but also to avoiding certain lawful matters, particularly vain pursuits, out of fear that they may eventually lead to disobedience. This practice ensures that they remain firm upon the sincere obedience of Allah, the Exalted, which involves using the blessings they have been granted correctly. As outlined in the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. This is the essence of righteousness and the path to peace of mind in both worlds, as it enables a person to attain a balanced mental and physical state, and to correctly place everything and everyone within their life. In contrast, the one who fails to understand the importance of not approaching the limits of Allah, the Exalted, will overindulge in lawful matters, especially vain ones, which increases the likelihood of falling into the unlawful. This behavior leads to the misuse of the blessings they have been granted, resulting in stress, hardship, and difficulty in both worlds. Such a person develops an unbalanced mental and physical state, misplaces everything and everyone within their life, and fails to prepare for their accountability on the Day of Judgment, even if they experience temporary moments of entertainment. This pattern is clearly observable in the lives of those who behave in this manner, including many among the wealthy, whose indulgence in vain pursuits often leads to spiritual emptiness and moral decline. As previously mentioned, the leaders of the non-Muslims in Mecca adopted various strategies to deter people from accepting Islam, driven by their fear of losing authority and social standing. One of their methods was to demand precise knowledge of when the Day of Judgment would occur. When no exact timing was given, they used this as a false justification to deny its reality altogether. Chapter 79 and Naziat, verses 42 to 45.
They ask you about the hour, when is its arrival? In what position are you that you should mention it? To your Lord is its finality. You are only a warner for those who fear it.
This reasoning is clearly flawed, as ignorance of the exact timing of an event does not negate its occurrence. In the same way, people do not know the exact moment of their death, yet no one denies that death is inevitable. Certain realities, such as death and the Day of Judgment, have been deliberately concealed so that people remain consistently prepared, rather than delaying action until the final moment approaches. This approach cultivates a proactive mindset, which is far more beneficial than a reactive one. For example, a wise student who is told to expect a surprise test will remain diligent and prepared at all times. In contrast, if given a fixed date, they may delay their efforts until the last moment, ultimately reducing their chances of success due to insufficient preparation. In addition, Islam criticizes those who claim they will only accept or act upon its teachings once all unseen matters, such as the existence of angels, are made visible to them. This attitude is misguided, as true faith derives its value from believing in realities that are not perceived through the physical senses. Belief in Allah, the Exalted, and other unseen matters is supported by clear signs and rational evidence found throughout creation. Just as the existence of a painting proves the presence of a painter, the existence of a perfectly ordered and balanced universe points to a creator. Moreover, in everyday life, people regularly rely on things they do not fully perceive or understand. For instance, many consume medicine without knowing the exact processes by which it works within the body, yet they trust in its benefit. Similarly, while the teachings of Islam are grounded in reason and evidence, they also include aspects of the unseen, which elevate the significance of faith. If these unseen realities were directly observed, belief would lose its distinction and value, as it would no longer involve trust or conviction beyond sensory perception. The true test of a person lies in their willingness to accept truth and act upon it, even when it is not directly visible, and in choosing obedience to Allah, the Exalted, despite having the freedom to disobey. Through the sending of the holy prophets, peace be upon them, and the revelation of divine scriptures, Allah, the Exalted, has provided sufficient guidance while still leaving room for choice. He has not revealed reality in such a way that people are compelled to believe without question, because this would eliminate the purpose of the test altogether. If the unseen were fully unveiled, if people could directly witness Allah, the Exalted, His angels, and the realities of the hereafter, there would be no room left for denial or choice. Even the most stubborn individuals would have no option but to believe and obey. In such a situation, faith would no longer hold meaning, as it would not involve trust, sincerity, or conscious submission. Therefore, the unseen remains veiled so that individuals can be tested through their choices. The value of faith and obedience lies precisely in this condition, where truth is clear through its signs, yet not forced upon people. The moment this veil is removed, marks the end of the period of choice and action. That moment is the Day of Judgment, when the opportunity to believe and act will cease, and every person will face the consequences of the path they chose. Allah, the Exalted, concludes this chapter by reminding people how near and inevitable the Day of Judgment truly is. Chapter 79 and Naziat, verse 46.
It will be on the day they see it, as though they had not remained in the world except for an afternoon or a morning thereof.
In reality, even if the Day of Judgment appears distant, a person's accountability effectively begins at the moment of their death, and that moment is never far away. Among all the blessings a person is given in this world, time is unique. Nearly everything else can be acquired, even through unlawful means, but time, once it passes, can never be recovered. Although this is a truth acknowledged by all, regardless of their beliefs, many fail to truly value and utilize their time correctly. A common mindset is to delay preparation for the hereafter until tomorrow. Yet, as each day passes, that tomorrow continues to be postponed, until in many cases it never arrives. Instead, the reality of that delayed intention only becomes clear at the time of death, when no further action can be taken. Even those who are granted the opportunity to reach old age and begin turning toward acts of worship, may find that years spent immersed in worldly concerns have shaped their habits and mindset. Their bodies may be present in places of worship, yet their thoughts, conversations, and concerns remain attached to worldly matters. This is something often observed by those who regularly attend such places. Due to advanced age and deeply ingrained habits, it may become difficult for them to learn, internalize, and act upon the teachings properly, resulting in a continued misuse of the blessings they have been granted. Furthermore, delaying preparation for the hereafter is impractical because responsibilities typically increase with time. Commitments such as marriage, family, and financial obligations often grow, not diminish. Therefore, waiting for a future period of ease or freedom is unrealistic. True wisdom lies in preparing consistently, regardless of one's circumstances. Islam does not instruct people to abandon the world entirely. Rather, it teaches balance, to take from the worldly life what is necessary to fulfill responsibilities without excess or waste, and to dedicate the remaining effort toward preparing for the everlasting life to come. A person should reduce time spent on sinful or meaningless activities, those which bring no benefit in either world, and instead invest their time and energy in actions that yield benefit in both. This is the correct use of time. It is a standard by which a person can measure themselves. How many can sincerely say that the majority of their effort is directed toward preparing for the eternal hereafter, rather than merely enhancing their temporary existence in this world? Therefore, a person must accept and act upon Islamic teachings for their own benefit, even when they conflict with personal desires. They should resemble a wise patient who follows the guidance of a skilled doctor, trusting that it is in their best interest, even when prescribed unpleasant medication and a strict regimen. Just as such a patient ultimately attains sound mental and physical health, the one who sincerely implements Islamic teachings will likewise achieve true balance and well-being. This is because only Allah, the Exalted, possesses complete and perfect knowledge of what is required to bring about a balanced mental and physical state, and to ensure that a person places everything and everyone in their proper position within life. Human understanding, despite extensive study and research, remains limited. It cannot fully address every situation a person may encounter, nor can it eliminate all forms of stress or guarantee correct priorities, due to its limitations in knowledge, experience, foresight, and its susceptibility to bias. Allah, the Exalted, alone holds this complete knowledge, and He has granted it to humanity through the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. This reality becomes evident when one observes the difference between those who use their blessings according to Islamic guidance, and those who do not. While many patients follow medical advice without fully understanding the underlying science, simply trusting their doctor, Allah, the Exalted, does not require blind acceptance of His guidance. Instead, He invites people to reflect upon the teachings of Islam so they may recognize their truth and benefit through clear evidence and experience. However, this reflection requires an open and unbiased mindset. Chapter 12 Yusuf, verse 108.
Say, this is my way, I invite to Allah with insight, I and those who follow me.
Furthermore, since Allah the Exalted alone controls the spiritual hearts of people, the source of true peace of mind, He alone determines who attains it and who does not. Chapter 53 and Najm, verse 43.
And that it is He who makes one laugh and weep.
It is therefore evident that genuine peace of mind is granted only to those who utilize the blessings they have been given in the manner prescribed by Allah, the Exalted, in accordance with Islamic teachings. Chapter 16 and Nahl, verse 97.
Whoever does righteousness, whether male or female, while he is a believer, we will surely cause him to live a good life, and we will surely give them their reward in the hereafter according to the best of what they used to do.
All praise is due to Allah, Lord of the worlds, and may peace and blessings be upon His final messenger, Muhammad, his noble family and companions.